Welcome to Riley's Garden Adventures, and today the plan is Korean. I'm going to taste test two special Korean varieties of any home grower. Shinlovely256 and Berry King. These special varieties are only exclusive to Korea or your local Korean grocer. So let's begin. The first variety we have is Shinlovely256. This Korean variety is an indeterminate type with 7 to 9 ounce fruits and an unknown maturity. This pink tomato is said to have a high sugar content and high yield. The tomato texture is hard, so it's touted to be great for marketability, citing good storage and transportation capabilities. In my experience, Shinlovely256 can be defined by its resilience. It survived the full brunt of an intense thunderstorm and kept all its fruit. It was also very slow to catch disease, despite being next to varieties suffering from leaf spot. Yield was great overall, with many good-sized fruits and more on the way. The next variety we have is Berry King. This Korean variety is an indeterminate type with 1 ounce fruits and an unknown maturity. This cherry tomato is said to have a strong stem and good disease resistance, and like Shinlovely, it has a hard nature which makes it good for shipping. Not much is described on its flavor, but it can be presumed that it is sweet. In my experience, Berry King was initially identical in the same growth habit as its American counterparts, until the fruit clusters began to form. While yield was not really crazy, Berry King created long fruit clusters of cherry tomatoes much larger than any other cherry tomato I've seen. It's also not exactly disease resistant, but at the same time disease it was afflicted with did not seem to bother the plant. Now it's time for the taste test. I got my Shinlovely256s over here and my Berry Kings over here. So we're going to start with Shinlovely256. So let's look at the seed pack. As you can see, it's quite a darker pink in the picture, but in real life it's a lighter rose pink. Now, let's get a good cut and see how it looks inside. I'm very excited for these Korean varieties because it's a very unique experience. Never had a variety that originated from Korea. So let's get a good cut. Okay, now I'm starting to see a trend with many of the pink tomatoes that we've reviewed in this channel. They are usually very meaty, but in this case, this pink Shinlovely is a little bit meaty, but has bigger chambers and more gel than Pink Girl and Brandy Boy. So that's quite different. It is a firm fruit. Just cutting it was a little bit more tougher with a knife, as it says right here. This tomato has high sugar, high yield, and it is hard, so it's good for storage. So it does live up to its English description. Now let's see if it is sweet, as it says, and if this is a lovely tomato. Wow. This is sweet. So, Brandy Boy and Pink Girl weren't really that sweet of a tomato, but this looks similar, but it tastes really, really sweet. Now let me just pick Pink Girl right off the vine for a second. So I got Pink Girl is right here. This is Shinlovely256, and they look very similar in appearance wise, but man, the flavor of this thing is so much sweeter. The skin is thicker, yes, that is not really something that I enjoy, but the flavor is much more sweet, and I would say more intense. Let me have another bite. That's some good sweetness. I'd give at least a 4.35. It's quite sweet, quite good. Really like the sweetness of it, but the skin is a bit too thick. But it was intended for transport and processing, as it's good for food ingredients rather than just eating it raw. But overall, Shinlovely256 is a lovely tomato, 4.35. If you can find this at your local Korean grocer as some seeds, I would recommend it. So now let's move on to Berry King. Alright, now it's time for Berry King. Will this be the king of all cherry tomatoes? Who knows? But this is the seed packet and this is the fruit in question. I would say right away, Berry King is much larger than the average cherry tomato. So I think Koreans like bigger cherry tomatoes. This is Super Sweet 100 that I just picked, and the size comparison is insanely different. Now let's get a big cut and see what's inside. Okay, what the heck? Okay, right away you can see there is really big chambers and lots of seeds. This is actually one of the most seeds I've seen in a cherry tomato so far. I don't know if this will mess up the flavor, but now let's have a taste. Oh man. What is this? This texture is awful. It's very, very chewy. The skin, insanely thick. It's thicker than Shinlovely. This is the thickest skinned tomato I've ever had. Oh my. I'm chewing and I'm chewing. Okay, yeah. Texture's awful, but the flavor... And another one. Not a good tomato. This is just... It's a pretty plain flavor. But the texture is just terrible. So, usually it's one or the other, or they complement each other, but... Man, the texture is just bad, and the flavor is so plain. Just like you tasted a store-bought tomato. This tastes exactly like the ones you'd grab in a supermarket. And for a homegrown tomato, that's really bad quality. I'd give it a 2.85 out of 5. If it was just the flavor that was bad, I would give it a 3. But the texture, and that just degrades it to a 2.85. Too much of a chewy skin. And it's just not a pleasant experience. I'm still chewing those two tomatoes. So if you find Berry King in the store, you can skip it. It's not the king of all berries, so yeah. That's my taste test. Stay tuned for more adventures on Riley's Gardening Adventures.